Hi, we're going to talk about the West Nile virus. So essentially, the first documented case of the West Nile virus was in the Uganda, East Africa in 1937. From 1937, the virus has spread to different continents and has affected the locals in that region. On the summer of 1999, in New York City, a cluster of patients were experiencing encephalitis that marked the first case of this virus arriving in America. This disease is caused by the virus that belongs to the genus Filovirus, the family Fivaridae, that is also related to the virus that causes Japanese encephalitis. The West Nile virus is considered part of the Fivaridae family because it is a single-stranded positive envelope RNA. The virus is primarily found in arthropods that has the potential to affect humans. The virion is approximately 50 million mutants and is surrounded by a lipid bilayer that is composed of C protein that is used to mediate viral assembly and its RNA genome. This virus contains 10 genes that is lined by 5 and 3 non-coding regions, but does not have the polyadenylation tail following by the third end. The stem leaf structure that the virus genome is essential for its viral replication. The optimal environment condition for this virus states that the virus is stable at a pH of 8. It is usually inactivated by temperatures greater than 40 Celsius, any acidic pH, any detergent, UV lights, gamma irritation, or organic solvent. So let's go to the next one. The disease is caused by pathogens. So this virus is a single polyprotein that contains three structured proteins and 7 non-structured proteins. The 7 non-structured proteins is crucial in viral RNA synthesis and assembly and is multifunctional. The non-structured protein of the West Nile virus also modulate cell signaling and immune response that help contribute to the virus immune evasion. The NS1 protein function can antagonize the host's antiviral defense and also inhibits the complement activation to give it a bigger chance to invade the host. So basically how this happens. Once the mosquito puncture and administer the virus through salivation secretion, it allows the virus to invade the host cell to initiate a virus replication. This process causes a decrease in the host's antiviral inflammatory response and increase the immunosuppressant interleukins. The complete viral copy will bud off of the host cell and travel to other regions of the body to spread the infection. Those who are older and are immunocompromised can implicate the virus to enter the brain, where it can cause neurological damage. In 60% of the cases of severe West Nile virus disease, it will infect the central nervous system. Although it is not known how the virus is able to cross the blood-brain barrier, progressive infection of this disease can result in encephalitis, meningitis, as well as permanent and fatal neurological damage. So the seriousness and the symptoms and diagnosis of this virus. So almost 80% of individuals they are asymptomatic and unaware that they do have this disease or illness. So approximately only about 80% of those infected with this virus will become symptomatic and will develop the West Nile fever as the most common clinical presentation. So the common signs and symptoms of the West Nile virus include fever, headache, chills, body aches, vomit, diarrhea, and skin rash. Those who are symptomatic, less than 1%, will develop the West Nile neuroinvasion disease that causes meningitis, encephalitis, or permanent and fatal neurological damage. Most severe and least common signs are symptoms such as slurred speech, altered cognition, convulsion, photophobia, neck stiffness, facial palsy, and limb weakness. The most common method to verify for the West Nile virus is through a West Nile virus antibody testing that can be done by collecting spinal fluid or by blood testing. This will test the antibodies for specific IgM and IgG antibodies to confirm if the person is currently infected with the West Nile virus or reflect past infection. Usually, the antibodies are detectable 3 to 8 days after initial onset of infection. The absence of IgM does not rule out. If a person is negative for West Nile virus, they may be required to get testing at a later date to rule out the possibility of them having this disease. So there are a few risk groups that are associated with this disease. So the risk groups will be older population who has declining immune system, children who are has underdeveloped immune system, and those with chronic health issues have a higher chance of developing a more severe reaction to the West Nile that can sometimes become fatal if they progress to severe neurological disease because they have a compromised immune system. So basically, the climate and landscape are one of the key factors that influence West Nile fever outbreaks that especially correlates to high precipitation, hotter seasonal temperature, highly fragmented forests, and irrigated cropland. These factors all relate to the presence and abundance of mosquitoes and birds that are attracted to this type of conditions. Hot weathers and warmer winters has increased the number of incidents of the West Nile virus case. In the United States, study indicates that the West Nile virus is higher in western and central areas in America compared to the eastern regions, and suggests that increased infection correlates with the increased temperature because of the seasonal temperature as well. So how is it transmitted? So the West Nile virus is mostly maintained in an zoonotic cycle that is a bird-mosquito-bird cycle. The Culex species mosquitoes and the birds in the Corvidae family are mostly associated with the disease. Bird species such as house sparrows and common grackles are amplifying hosts because they have a lower mortality and a higher virulence tolerance to the disease. So basically, the bird will act as a reservoir for the virus until an uninfected mosquito will feed on the infected bird. So the mosquito will act as a vector to transmit the virus to another host. The West Nile virus is transmitted via salivary gland secretion when the infected mosquito feed on the host. Humans are actually incidental hosts because although they can become infected with the virus, they do not actively participate in the West Nile virus life cycle. Because they are larger hosts, they do not generate enough levels of infection so that they can infect an uninfected mosquito when it feeds on a human. Although it's rare, human to human transmission is possible from blood transfusion, organ donation, and mother to baby during nursing. So, avoidable treatment, management, and cure. So basically, the most effective method to limit vector-host transmission is to eliminate mosquito-borne disease. So basically, health officials advise individuals to plan ahead when traveling to areas that has high susceptibility for the virus. When traveling, consider the purchase of insect repellent to ward off mosquito bites. The CDC recommends using insect repellent that has at least one of the active ingredients, such as DEET, oil and lemon eucalyptus, paramethylidol, and 2-undercodone. Another preventative is to reduce any exposed skin that could become a potential target area for mosquitoes by wearing long sleeve attire. Treating and purchasing clothes with 0.5 paramethrin can also deter the potential for mosquito bites. Also, to control mosquitoes at home, make sure to eliminate any still water at home to stop mosquitoes from laying eggs in that facility. In some part of the United States, surveillance programs are set up for the public to report any sighting of possible infected dead birds to the local agency. It is encouraged because the local agency will collect the dead birds to test them for the virus. This collection allows officials to check for the presence of the West Nile virus in the area. Local governments also conduct mosquito surveillance to collect mosquito specimens to test them for the West Nile virus. So with the treatment, currently there is no vaccine or antiviral treatment that is specifically for the West Nile virus. If an individual are experiencing mild to severe symptoms, they will need to be administered to the hospital in order to receive supportive treatment. So with their supportive treatment, it usually composed of IV fluid, nursing care to prevent secondary infection, and pain medication to alleviate symptoms. Currently, there's some trials and trials to create a vaccine and antiviral treatment that focus on inhibiting for the West Nile replication. And these are my references. Thank you.